Hi everyone, it's Tammy. I'm in the kitchen this month. It's March, and every month I submit a recipe to a local climate action group. And this month they're doing a theme. It's called The Food You Eat. And so this month I'm going to submit 4 recipes, one every Friday. The first one is for the first Friday of March, and it's going to be a soup because we have several weeks of winter left, and soup is still on the menu. The recipes I'm going to be featuring are low carbon, so sustainable recipes. And so we'll talk a little bit about sustainability if I do produce a video to go with the recipe. This first week I am going to have this video on my YouTube channel. And I think what I'm going to focus on for the first recipe, I'm making a mushroom and a wild rice soup, which is so amazing. I'm going to make it in my crock pot, so I'm going to be using an appliance that doesn't use a lot of electricity. And it's something that certainly can be a time saver in your kitchen and save you time so you don't have to be standing over top of a pot necessarily. You can walk away, get other things done while the slow cooker does the cooking for you. So we're going to quickly go through this and get this recipe together. So what I'm going to start with is most soups and even sauces and other types of dishes start off with that mirepoix, your onion, carrot, and your celery. Now today I'm using a little bit of celery. This recipe calls for a large onion, 2 carrots, and 3 stalks of celery. But I decided today to use a little bit of celery root, which is this little guy here. So celery root, and along with a little bit of celery that I had when I was cutting it up. And I'm just going to show you, this is a celery root. So it's got this kind of like fuzzy sort of top on it. And I cut the bottom off. That's where I actually diced up for the soup today. It's also called celeriac, and it does have a very mild celery taste. So just for something different, I thought I would add this. The recipe is going to say 3 stalks of celery, but you can always sub in a little bit of celery root if you want. So into the crock pot that goes. And this soup is going to take about 3 to 4 hours if you have it on high, 6 to 8 hours if your crock pot is on low. Another tool you can obviously use is your Instapot, if you have an Instapot. I don't own an Instapot, but I do have a friend who has an Instapot, so instead of buying one, I think I would just borrow it from my friend. Same with a crock pot. If you don't have a crock pot, you might want to ask around. Maybe family or friends might be able to lend you one. We don't necessarily have to run out and get every appliance in the kitchen. So the mirepoix, or your celery, a carrot, and onion. Then I'm going to add about 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. It depends on how much garlic you like. The recipe says up to 4. So I've minced that finely. I'm going to add that into the pot. So one thing that's lovely about a crock pot, you just add everything. And you could actually do this the night before and just put the insert inside your fridge. And then in the morning, just plug it in and let it go. It's awesome. Also, I've got about 8 ounces or about 4 cups of mushrooms. Now, in this episode, I guess I forgot to tell you what the theme was. The focus is going to be sort of local foods. So these mushrooms are actually grown by a local producer. So I have a variety of mushrooms here. I've got some oyster, some chestnut, and some lion's mane. So about 4 cups of those. And I'm just going to give you a quick look at them. They're just a wonderful, wonderful medley of mushrooms. So I'm going to have a wonderful taste. And mushrooms give that beautiful umami flavor. So there you see some oysters. And I'm not going to unpackage these because I'm actually going to use these in another recipe later on. This is the lion's mane. It's kind of like a furry almost mushroom. Beautiful. And the chestnut, this sort of like orangey, reddy, not reddy, but orangey yellow kind of mushroom. Beautiful. Nice mixture, so a lot of wonderful flavors. I'm going to add in a half a cup of my wild rice. In it goes. And you know that wild rice is not really a grain, right? It's a grass. So, and also going to add 1 teaspoon of dried oregano and 1 teaspoon of dried thyme. Just make sure when you're adding in your dry herbs that you're rubbing them so that you're releasing all those aromatic oils that are inside. Now, something in the recipe that the recipe doesn't call for, I had just a little nub of Chinese cabbage left in the fridge, and I didn't want to waste it because, again, wasting food is not good for the planet. So another sustainability tip is try to use up things that are maybe going to go in your fridge, or little pieces and bits of vegetables that this isn't going to change the taste of the soup, but it's going to give me some more nutrition, some more crunch, and some more variety. So I'm just going to add that in. Woo. And try not to drop it in your bowl. In your insert, in that goes. Something else that the recipe doesn't call for, but again, I'm going to add in, is a nice low carbon protein source, and that's tofu. And I mentioned in a few of my other videos that tofu really takes on the flavor of whatever you cook it in. So this is going to have a very flavorful broth. There are some herbs and other vegetables inside, so you're not going to taste the tofu. So all I'm doing here is I'm just crumbling it in. It's about half of a 1 pound block of tofu. I just happen to have some medium, but you can use firm or extra firm if you want. You can cube it up if you don't want to, crumble it in. Completely up to you. So I'm going to put that in really quickly. Now, of course, my hands are going to be a little bit dirty, so I'm just going to go wash them quick and I'll be right back. So just a couple of more things to add to this soup. A couple of grinds of fresh black pepper. A little bit of salt. And last but not least, I'm going to add in my stock. Now, because I've added a couple of extra ingredients, I believe the soup recipe calls for about 5 to 6 cups of stock. I'm going to put a good 7 cups of stock in just to make sure I have some liquid left at the end. I don't want my liquid to completely disappear because the wild rice will absorb some of that liquid when it's cooking. So I'm going to add in my 7 cups. And what I did just to kind of speed things along is I heated up my broth in the microwave just so it's not going in cold. So that's 1, that's 3 cups there. And I just used a vegetable cube, and actually in one of my measuring cups I used a vegetable cube, a bouillon cube, and just water. And in the other one I actually had some homemade stock in the freezer that I thawed last night, and so I added 1 of my homemade stock as well. So the salt is already in there. What I want to do is I want to give this a mix. You don't want things to just be sitting in clumps, so give it a good mix. And then all you do is you put on the top, plug it in, and walk away and get on with your day. So just to review, the wild rice was actually also rice that was grown in the region around Kapuskasing. The garlic that I used in the recipe came from, again, a local producer that grows garlic, and she also raises honeybees, so we get homemade honey. Local honey from her, which is absolutely amazing. So I always, when I'm thinking about my recipes, trying to think of ways that I can include foods that are grown or produced really close to home. So what I consider local would be in my immediate city. It could be in my region, but it could also mean Ontario grown as well. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye for now.